Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out, episode number 82. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. If you're listening to the radio version of this show, it will air on a weekend on a radio station near you. If it's a podcast, however, something you've streamed or downloaded, then it may not be a weekend. I recognize that. Regardless, we do have a great show planned for you this hour. Thanks for joining us. In a minute from now, we're going to learn about a new smartphone with an integrated thermal imaging camera and why that's cool. We'll catch up with fellows this hour about proper ergonomics, using technology responsibly as it relates to the wear and tear it could have on the human body. And also on Tech It Out, we're going to chat with Philips about Philips Cares. It's a new program tied to seniors and caregivers. This is all coming up on today's show. All right, let's kick things off. When is a smartphone more than just a smartphone? When it's super durable, that it's ideal for the millions of people who work in the field, maybe often harsh environments? Or what about a smartphone that has an integrated thermal imaging camera, indoor air quality sensor, and a lot more? Well, you know the brand Caterpillar, of course, best known for those huge construction and agricultural machines and other equipment. But you might not know that there are CAT-branded ruggedized smartphones. Joining us to talk about its latest model, the CAT S61, is Casey Clement. He is the Senior Product Manager at Bullet Group, the company behind CAT phones. Welcome to the show, Casey.
Thank you, Mark. Glad to be here.
So I gave a brief overview of what the CAT S61 is all about, and I'll ask you to elaborate in a moment from now. But why don't we start off a little bit more high level and tell us about Bullet Group and the CAT-branded phones and what makes them unique?
Yeah, absolutely. What differentiates a CAT phone is this is what we do. We breathe and live the rugged device space. So we purely provide rugged phones and have specialized in this since 2009. Our customers are the center of everything that we do. So we have gone out and over the years have spoken to over 50,000 customers. And we take that feedback and those pain points that customers have in the field working in these different verticals, which we'll discuss, and we bring them back and say, how can we solve the needs of these niche verticals in these spaces? We over-index on rugged credentials, so we're not your standard rugged, quote-unquote, device. We put it through the test. So we drop our phones over 26 times onto concrete of over 6 feet. So we go through this testing. They're fully dust waterproof, IP68 and 69 certified. We go to the standards of mil-spec to include the tumble and extreme temperature testing. So we're doing all this testing before these devices hit the field to make sure that they're going to stand up in the environments that they're serving.
So I can see this being ideal for industries like forestry, oil and gas, mining. I mean, anything like that, farming, right? Like where, you know, the environments can be pretty hard on the workers.
Yeah, we definitely serve the construction, the utilities, facilities, verticals, the farming, animals, emergency response, security, recreation use, such as sailing, extreme hiking, biking, even car mechanics, HVAC, installation and servicemen. And then, of course, we get into a little bit of government services and verticals that use it in extreme environments.
Okay, so we're talking very durable, ruggedized smartphones that can withstand some serious drops, temperature that it can withstand various temperatures, cold or hot. And I know that with some of the models, and why don't we dive right into the S61, which is your latest. It has some cool bells and whistles, too, that I alluded to in the introduction. So tell us about this latest model, the CAT S61.
Yeah, besides all the ruggedness we've discussed, we've incorporated 3 key features into this device that sets it apart from any other device you're going to find on the market. So we've integrated a FLIR thermal imaging camera into this device. And it's not just a spot VGA camera. We've actually got a high definition thermal imaging camera that will enhance the image and show you the full environment that you're the full scene temperature that you're scanning. Indoor air quality sensor. So this is an important feature if you're working around paints and solvents and glues, adhesives, carpets, things of that nature that can really impact the health of the environment you're working in. Can lead to headaches, dizziness, irritation of the eyes. So our device will, if set up to do so, will alert you if you're overexposed to one of these VOC sources that can become an irritant. And the third is a laser assistant distant measurement tool. And so this is a general laser measurement tool used to do point-to-point measurement, measure an area. It's not necessarily used for precise cutting of wood, things of that nature, but it's a great tool that we've incorporated so you don't have to carry another tool on the job. So you have a quick view tape measure right with you built into your device.
Well, I can see these features being super relevant to various industries. Could we dive a bit deeper on the thermal imaging camera? So FLIR, which is a brand that may not be that consumer facing, let's say, it's FLIR. This is a technology that can detect heat in people or in objects, and many of our listeners may not know that it was FLIR's technology that actually found the one of the Boston bombers. He was hiding under a tarp, if you recall, in a boat in a backyard after the Boston Marathon, and it was a FLIR imaging camera underneath a helicopter, if I'm not mistaken, that saw the outline of the person hiding. It was, I think, the Boston bomber's younger brother. So this is the same company that has, I know they have handheld FLIR imaging devices. I saw them at the Consumer Electronics Show, but this is integrated inside of the CAT S61.
Yeah, and that's the important piece. So FLIR is a fantastic company. They have great technology, state-of-the-art thermal imaging. And what we did is we partnered with them to bring this FLIR imaging system into our device. So it prevents you from having to carry a secondary component. Like you said, they sell standalone FLIR imaging cameras, and they're great, but it's another thing on your tool belt per se. Mm-hmm. That way, we built it into the ruggedness of this device, and it's not a stripped down version of FLIR's thermal camera. If you look out there and you do anything search wise of FLIR. Or thermal imaging, FLIR is going to come up as the predominant manufacturer of these devices.
So what would be one or two applications for having a thermal imaging camera? Maybe you can paint us through a couple of scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen this used in construction with electrical to point out hotspots, live electrical lines, HVAC to point out air leakage, or heat or cooling leakage out of vents. Utilities and facilities, in facility management. Farming uses it a lot, believe it or not, in the agricultural and even within the animals. And then you talked a little bit about the emergency and security. That's definitely a predominant use case there, is being able to detect heat sources, whether it's the guy under the tarp in the boat or on an accident scene, to quickly scan a vehicle to see how many heat impressions are on the seats to make sure you have all the victims. We actually had a use case to where a gentleman was extracted from the vehicle during the crash, and the rescuers did not realize that there was a passenger in the vehicle until they scanned the vehicle and saw the heat impression on the seat with a thermal imaging camera, and then they knew to look for a second victim, which they did find. So there's a lot of use cases. Car mechanics use it to read temperatures of tires and brakes and engines, things of that nature. Recreation and missing persons, things of that nature.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know two applications, consumer-related applications. One is, I know some women who would love the idea of having their smartphone being able to detect a person hiding perhaps in an underground garage. As you're walking to your vehicle late at night after work, you just have to hold up your phone and you'll see a heat signature, heaven forbid, of somebody sort of sitting there, hiding, because it can just show the outline. And then secondly, I've heard of instances of lost lost pets, where somebody has used a FLIR camera to, it may not be the phone itself, but a handheld thermal imaging camera that found the outline of the dog that was, in a neighbor's yard. All right. And then finally, how much does the CAT S61 smartphone cost? Where can we learn more about it, and where can it be purchased?
Yeah, you can purchase this device by visiting catphones.com, and that's CATPHONES.com. And currently the device retails for $999, so $999. So it is our premium device. Obviously, with all that feature set, it's well worth the spend.
Well, it's about the cost of an iPhone, so I don't think it sounds abnormally high, especially given the ruggedness, the durability of the device, not to mention the integrated thermal imaging camera, indoor air quality sensor, and laser-assisted distance measurement. I appreciate your time. Catphones.com to learn more. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. It was a pleasure.
All right. Once again, that's the CAT S61 Android-powered smartphone with the integrated FLIR thermal imaging camera. When we return on Tech It Out, we're going to catch up with fellows to talk ergonomics. But first, Tech It Out is powered by ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including its line of award-winning laptops, desktops, monitors, smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and much more. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out. Stay with us.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out, everyone. Quickly calculate how much time you spend in front of digital devices like computers, tablets, and smartphones. Be honest. Well, according to a recent Nielsen report in the US, adults now spend about 11 hours per day on technology. So that's about 2/3 of the time we're awake. And that number climbs even higher for those who work in front of a monitor all day at the office. If this sounds familiar, you bet there are health concerns tied to our increasingly sedentary work culture. But there is a good and bad way to use our tech, meaning that we can reduce the strain on our bodies by making a few changes. Joining us to discuss ergonomics is Dr. Andrew Sulatiski. He has worked with Fellows, a brand that you likely know, for more than 10 years as an ergonomic consultant. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Sure thing. Dr. Sulatiski, by the way, is the clinical director and a clinician at the Thornhill Rehabilitation and Chiropractic Center in the Greater Toronto Area. So let's start off with a definition, perhaps. What is ergonomics exactly?
Well, Mark, ergonomics is basically the study of people and their working environment. More specifically, it's looking at how the workplace and devices can be used to be modified to fit the worker and not the other way around. So the basic goal of ergonomics is to eliminate discomfort and risk of injury at the workplace.
Right. And I think a lot of people have heard the phrase carpal tunnel syndrome, I think it stemmed from the early 90s when we started to use computers a lot more on a daily basis. And it's a repetitive strain injury, right? That's an example of one of the sort of byproducts on our reliance on technology.
Exactly. A lot of things like carpal tunnel syndrome stem from us adapting to the workspace and adapting to our devices as opposed to trying to make those devices adapt and fit us, which is what we want to do with ergonomics.
Exactly. All right. So there are a growing number of products out there that can work better with the human body in a more natural and intuitive way rather than us trying to fit our body in a certain way where we almost have to, in some cases, sort of contort our forearms or our wrists in order to push a mouse across the screen or strain to see a display in front of us. So there are a few tips and products that can help, which is why I wanted to invite you onto the show. So ergonomics, incredibly important, not just for work, but for play as well. I mean, we're finding other sort of conditions because of our reliance on technology for entertainment's sake, right?
Oh, absolutely. Kids are spending so much time on their phones or we're on our games playing away. And, when we look at our phones, we do crouch down and kind of hunch over our devices. And, that can lead to a lot of neck strain and back pain as well.
Yeah, I've heard that texting neck is one of these phrases where kids are looking down and they're using their devices like that. It looks uncomfortable, and it is obviously not very good wear and tear over the years. So let's start off with some tips before we talk about what Fellows has to offer in this space and maybe some other products you'd recommend. What are some tips to better use of our technology personally or professionally?
Okay, there's kind of three key components that you want to address when trying to make your workspace or your play space more ergonomic. First, you want to get into a neutral and relaxed posture. And the best analogy I can give is, if you're going to watch a movie or you're going to go for a long drive, when you sit down, you're going to sit back into the seat and be relaxed. But a lot of times people get into their workspace and they just crouch down, and based on how their keyboard's set up or how their monitor's set up, they adapt and crouch down into that workspace. But when you think about it, you want to actually be relaxed and sit back.
That's a good tip. And I heard that for those who may be vertically challenged, like yours truly, you should be putting if you can't put your feet flat on the floor, then you should have like a little step stool or a little like apple box or something under your desk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the key points there is, you want to have your feet flat on the floor. But for a lot of people who are shorter, I'm 6'8", so I don't have that problem.
Oh, wow.
But for a lot of people, for a lot of people who are vertically challenged, what they do is they jack up their chair as high as they can go so they can get their arms up onto the desk, but then their feet dangle. So that's where, a simple footrest comes into play. As well, you want to keep your thighs roughly parallel with the floor. And then the other thing is we want to sit back into the chair. A lot of times people kind of perch on the edge of the chair, and the whole point of the chair back is to support our lumbar spine. So just like if you're sitting in a car or in a movie, you want to be back into the chair, and you need to have your workspace needs to be able to adapt to do that. So sometimes that means bringing the keyboard toward you or the mouse towards you so you can sit back into that relaxed posture.
I've often written in pieces about ergonomics, including something I wrote last week for USA Today, is that when you're looking at a monitor, you should also have one that can pivot and tilt. Not all of them do, but many of them do. And it allows you to better position it so you're not, for example, looking to the left of your desk where your monitor is, even though your body may be center. You want to be able to put it right in front so you're not straining your neck at all, whether it's manually moving the monitor or adjusting the screen.
Absolutely. That's one of the key things with ergonomics and just dealing with your neck. You want to be looking straight ahead at the screen. And a lot of times I do assessments, and it's pretty amazing. The keyboard will be straight ahead, but their monitor's off to the right. Or people who have dual monitor setups, they're looking off to the right-hand monitor, so their neck is twisted half the day, which obviously is not a good thing. So getting that monitor up so you're hitting... Nowadays with the larger monitors, I actually recommend people going not just at the top bezel, but actually the top third of the monitor, because with the new larger monitors, that allows you to see the whole screen without having to, bend or flex your neck too much.
Great. Stay with us when we continue our chat with Fellows after this short break. Plus, don't forget this hour, we're also going to touch base with Philips. This is, of course, that multinational technology company headquartered in Amsterdam. Not only is Philips one of the largest electronics companies in the world, they've been around since 1891. That's right, 127 years ago. And they've made a huge investment in care for seniors, as you may or may not know. So our last interview today, after we chat more with Fellows about ergonomics, it'll be with Philips about the new Philips Cares platform. We will be back shortly with more Tech It Out. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone, to Tech It Out. We're chatting with Dr. Andrew Solitiski. He is a clinic director and clinician at the Thornhill Rehabilitation and Chiropractic Center in the Greater Toronto area, and he has worked with Fellows for over a decade as an ergonomic consultant, and you can hear why. We're offering some tips to better using your technology to reduce strain on the human body. Can you explain this 20-20-20 rule that I know that you're a fan of?
Sure. Basically, it's just to get you up and get you moving. As I said, we're not designed to sit all day. So what you basically do is every 20 minutes, you take a 20-second micro break. So this is a little break where you stand up, you move your feet. If your back is tight, you bend, you twist a little bit. If your shoulders are tight, you stretch the shoulders, roll the shoulders back. And then the other thing you do is you look 20 feet away so that you're not looking at your screen all day. You look away. That helps deal with eye strain and just gives your eyes a little bit of a break as well.
All right, I like that. All right, the 20-20-20 rule. And of course, there are some mice and keyboards that fit more naturally the human body. For example, I say that if people put their hands down on a table in front of them, they'll notice that their elbows are out and their hands curve inwards, pointing inwards, not flat straight. And so there's a lot of keyboards that are angled that specific way. Do you like those keyboards?
Yeah, those keyboards are great as long as when you put your hands on the keyboard, your elbows are in and your wrists are flat, they work out well. For some people, they're not ideal, but for the majority of people, if you can get your wrist into that neutral posture where the wrist is straight, that will help, one, prevent strain through the wrist extensors and issues with carpal tunnel. So a lot of those keyboards for a lot of people can work quite well.
Before we talk and wrap up with Fellows products, a word on mice. That seems to be an issue for many office workers. Are you a fan of trackballs instead of mice, or are there certain mice that are more ergonomically designed than others, a more traditional mouse?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of any type of mouse that basically allows that wrist to stay in a neutral, flat posture without excessive motion at the wrist. So for some people, the trackballs work well because they basically just rest their hand on top of the mouse and they're using their thumb to move. And then for some, we have, there's the more ergonomic. I like mice that fit into the hand. So that can either be a larger base mouse that the palm is supported with, or some of the new mice that are in the kind of handshake or upright position, so that the wrist still maintains that neutral posture and you have less strain while you're clicking all the buttons.
Yeah, that's actually one of the mice that I wrote about in that USA Today article. It's from Logitech called it's an ergo mouse called the Vertical, and it is like a handshake grip. It's a 57-degree angled mouse that you kind of put your hand into, and it just feels really comfortable without you having to twist your wrist around. So I don't know if you've seen that product. It's relatively new, but one that I would definitely recommend. But let's now talk about Fellows. Tell us about the kinds of products that they offer in this space for ergonomics sake.
Yeah, so they offer a full range of solutions that cover, the basic needs of, say, something like a back support or wrist support, or to more complex situations where you need something like a sit-stand workstation. And what I love about their products is that the majority of their products can be used to adapt to fit the existing workspace. So good examples, they have keyboard managers and monitor risers, so you can get your monitor up as high as you need to. And then the keyboard managers allow, the keyboard and the mouse to come to you, so you're not reaching forward onto the desk. But I think one of the big game changers in their lineup is their whole line of sit-stand workspace solutions. I've been recommending these a lot to my clients. And, one of the key points with them is that, motion and movement throughout the day, as you mentioned, is literally just as important as ergonomics. We're not designed to sit all day, and us getting up and moving is a big thing. And that's where these sit-stand workstations really come into play.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot about these more often these days. I've been reading a lot about those products quite a bit these days, these sit-stand workstations or sit-stand desks. I think Fellows is about to launch a new line of those as well.
Yeah, so they have two key lines. There's the Lotus line, which basically makes any desk a standard desk into a sit-stand workstation. And so then you also have the new Lovato line, which is a line of adjustable desks. The Lotus line, it's a really great option for people who have a built-in desk, or they have an heirloom desk that they love and they don't want to get rid of, because basically with the standard Lotus or the Lotus DX model, which all the difference with that is the Lotus DX has wireless charging built into it and USB ports, which is really handy.
Yeah, I like that.
But it basically... It's fantastic, so you can charge your phone, but it basically, you pop it out of the box, it comes fully assembled, you put it on top of your desk, and it's ready to go. They have a patent-pending smooth lift technology, which basically, with the squeeze of two fingers, you can bring that workstation up or down. It has 22 different height settings, and you can go for up to 17 inches off the desk. So you can find that ideal standing position for just about anyone from someone, my height at 6'8" to someone who's, say, 5'3".
Okay. And then finally, where can we learn more about what Fellows has to offer in this space?
If you go to the Fellows website, fellows.com, they have really good tips there on ergonomics and wellness, as well as the listing of the whole product line between the Lotus and the Lovato desk, which is RV sit-stand desk I mentioned as well.
Okay, and again, Fellows is simply spelled FELLOWES for their line of products and .com, and you can see all their products there. Thank you so much, Dr. Andrew Sulatiski. I appreciate your time and your expertise. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you want to check out my article about ergonomics, by the way, you can just Google USA Today, my name, Mark Saltzman, and that's Mark with a C, and the word ergonomics, and it'll pop up with a video and an article. When we return on Tech It Out, we're going to chat with Philips about Philips Cares, a platform for seniors and caregivers. But first, a thank you to ASUS, the title sponsor on Tech It Out, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. Thank you for your support on Tech It Out. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. Hey, before we go to the break, if you like this show, please do feel free to recommend it to a friend, family member, or colleague. The podcast is easily shareable. The website to access all of the podcast platforms is simply marksaltzman.com. That's MARC, as I mentioned earlier, SALTZMAN.com. And you're going to see the word podcast, a little tab on the top right corner of the screen. And there you'll be able to visit iTunes or Blog Talk or Spreaker or TuneIn and all the other platforms available, or you can subscribe via our RSS feed. So thank you again for your support on the show. Please do share the word about Tech It Out, and I do appreciate your support. You can also give me feedback at that website as well. All right, when we return, as promised, we're going to catch up with Philips to learn about Philips Cares. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. It's no secret that we have an aging population. The baby boomer generation, in fact, makes up roughly 77 million people. And with data compiled by the Social Security Administration, a man reaching the age of 65 today can expect to live on average 20 more years. A woman just over that, living to about 87. Philips is aiming to give seniors access to the right care at the right time with a program called Philips Cares, allowing you to extend your circle of trusted caregivers, making it easier to share important info between family and friends. And joining us on the line to discuss is Paul Adams. He's the Senior Director of Product Management at Philips Aging and Caregiving. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Hi there. Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me on your show.
So let's dive right in. What are the main issues facing caregivers today? And what about seniors who have family member who's caring for them at home?
Yeah, I think one of the things we should really truly remember about caregivers in general is that they're on their own aging journey as well. Many of them are over the age of 50. They may still have their own children at home. They're usually working. They're paying their bills. They're looking after their own lives, their own family, and they also have to care, in many cases, for mum and dad. And I think it's not a case of not wanting to care for mum and helping dad out. It's a case of just all the other pressures that they're subjected to in just the normal activities of life, whether, like I said, keeping a job down, putting their kids through college, paying the bills, looking after the house. And I think it can be an extremely stressful situation, one, because of the feeling of, am I doing the right job, or am I doing it well enough for mum and dad, but also some of the financial and time impact that helping mum and dad stay at home, or the place they call home, can impose on the family. I think it's also true for the senior. Seniors, like everybody else, are grown-up adults. They want to live a life that's their own. They want to be independent. They want to manage their own affairs. And there's this kind of tension, I think, between the aging senior, who's potentially at least facing some challenges as part of their aging journey, and looking for support and help, perhaps from family members. And so there's always the challenge of having insights and understanding those tensions and thinking about what companies like Philips can do to perhaps support both sides of that equation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I guess they call those folks the sandwich generation, right? They've got kids of their own that in many cases they're still responsible for, at least financially. And then on the other end of the spectrum, they're taking care of their aging parents, helping them what we call age in place. So trying to keep them at home independendly as long as possible without having to go to an assisted living environment, correct?
Yeah, quite right, Mark. I think that's kind of one of the kind of lines and mantras that we have, helping the seniors stay in the place they call home for as long as they want. Mm-hmm. I think there are ways that we can do that along that aging journey. Some of them, you could imagine would just be education. It just would be a case of, guidelines and encouragement for an active life with senior. The more active you can keep as you age, the chances are the better the quality of life you're going to have. Mm-hmm. I also think there are ways that we can help caregivers keep in touch. When we think about the caregiver, the non-spousal, informal caregiver, it could be the brother, it could be a son, it could be a daughter. It could be a nephew, it could be a niece, it could be the neighbour. And in fact, at Lifeline, at the Aging Caregiving, we see a variety of people who are these informal caregivers, all trying to help either their loved one or a friend or a neighbour stay where they call the place they call home. So if we can work out ways to help that group work together, give them better insights, better visibility to how mum and dad are doing, giving them the right cues perhaps to step in and offer help, and maybe making it at a place where they can find out more information and other services that can help with mum and dad's journey as they age. I think that's a really good thing.
Mm-hmm. We're chatting with Paul Adams, Senior Director of Product Management at Philips Aging and Caregiving. And before we talk about the Philips Cares program, it's pretty evident that today the biggest thing that has happened in the tech world over the last decade is this mobility explosion, right? Well, everybody's got a computer in their pocket, essentially, and not to mention apps, the infrastructure, 4G and soon 5G, wireless connectivity. It's ubiquitous. So how has mobile technology supported seniors on their aging journeys?
Well, it really depends who you mean by the senior. If we think about for many people who are on our service here at Philips, they're over the age of 80. And that age group perhaps aren't as comfortable with the usage and adoption of technology, as well as even handling out information or entering information. If we're talking somebody perhaps a little bit younger, where they're the boomer group, as we referred to at the beginning of the interview, they tend to be more adoptive of technology, more savvy, and also more assertive in their own needs as an individual who's aging. What do I need to do for my journey? What do I need to make sure that I think about as I get older? How can I make this the best part of my life? And so I think there's almost this kind of cutoff where there's a more perhaps my mother's age, when in her 80s and 90s, who was perhaps at home waiting to be told what to do or to be waiting to get help. Where I think the younger senior in the 70s and up are more assertive. How we use technology then is really partly dependent on the senior itself. With some of the technology we're developing, we recognize that challenge, where we're focusing perhaps our technology and the mobile services that we're going to offer on the caregiver, so that they can be better informed and use that technology to assist the senior. It doesn't mean the senior can't be part of that group or part of that engagement model if they want to be. And clearly, from my perspective, they're at the heart of everything that we do. They want to be fully engaged. Bring it on. Get in there. Get stuck in. Get involved with your family and part of your journey.
We'll be right back to continue our chat with Philips. Stay with us.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We're chatting with Paul Adams, Senior Director of Product Management at Philips Aging and Caregiving, to discuss technology's important role in helping caregivers. So, I obviously, based on comfort level, we've seen seniors adopt mobile technology for staying in touch with loved ones over FaceTime or Skype. Integrated wireless technology in devices like Philips Lifeline, a wearable pendant or another device that could detect a fall and alert family members, caregivers, or emergency services. Now let's pivot and talk about Philips Cares and how the mobile revolution has really helped to lighten the burden for caregivers.
Yeah, so when we were designing and developing the Cares platform, we were really trying to think about some of the challenges that the senior faces and that as a service Lifeline faces as well. One of the things that we see through our call centers is a wide variety of different types of calls that come in. We're all very familiar with the idea that when you fall over, you press the button and you get help. That's clearly at the core of the service that Lifeline offers. But there's many other types of calls that we get that have nothing to do with falling. They could be, I'm hungry. They could be, my left arm hurts. They could be like, I haven't been out all week. We get a whole parade of different types of calls that come into our call center. Mm-hmm. Imagine then if we have a much better way of taking that information and sharing it back to that care circle, which could be clearly the son or the daughter. It could be the grandchildren. It could be that really good friend who's a neighbor. But it could also be to other organizations as well. It could be to the home care team who's responsible for checking in on Dad once or twice a week. It could be the physician. It could be other organizations who have responsibility to help Dad with his aging journey. So we believe we have a role to play to integrate that family circle with other services around Mum or Dad who are trying to make the best life possible for them. And we can do that through using a digital platform where we allow people to share information that's then shared within that group. And the senior clearly could be part of that group. So they all have access to the same information at the same time, and they see it in a way that makes sense to them as well. And that could be, how was Dad's mood today? Is Mum's moving around much better than she was yesterday? I've taken Nan to the cinema tonight to see Casablanca. It could be a whole variety of different bits of information and insights about that, about Mum, and it lets everybody else know what they want to do. It can also be a tool for coordination of care. It could be, I can't make Tuesday night to take Dad to the club. Can you take him that night, Harry? I'm my brother, for instance. Can you cover that for me? It could be the healthcare organisation saying, hey, I helped Mum have a wash today. She didn't seem right. You maybe want to think about contacting the doctor to see if she needs a checkup. Mm-hmm. So you can see where we can take what was, for many people, it's just a standard kind of idea about a digital service. But then we fine-tune it around not only the family, but perhaps other services who are responsible and accountable for their care as well. And that allows a company like Philips to really extend that service where it becomes far more valuable and useful for the family and for the senior in their home.
All right, Paul, is there a website where we can learn more about Philips Cares for those listening who may be interested or caregivers as well?
Yes, if you go to www.lifeline.philips.com, you can find out all the information there.
Lifeline.philips.com. Paul Adams, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Hey, Mark, thank you very much.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's Tech It Out. We certainly had our fair share of guests and diverse topics as well. We first spoke with CAT, the Bullet Group, about the CAT S61 Android-powered smartphone with an integrated thermal imaging camera. That's kind of unique. Then we spoke with fellows about ergonomics, how to better use your technology in the office to reduce strain on your body, things to do with your mouse and keyboard, your monitor, and your chair. Then we spoke with Philips about Philips Cares. That was our last interview with Paul Adams. We just wrapped that up, where we talked about Philips Aging and Caregiving and their product called Philips Cares. This is a new platform that's meant to help those stay in better touch and also share data collected from the Lifeline products, things like the pendants and all that. Very neat stuff. Hope you enjoyed the show. Feel free to let me know otherwise, or if you did have a suggestion for an upcoming guest or topic, you can always hit me up on my website, marksaltzman.com. That's Mark with a C. Or you can hit me up on Twitter, Mark_Saltzman. I'm also on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to thank my sponsor one last time. Tech It Out is brought to you by ASUS. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio to check out their myriad of products. Very cool stuff, from gaming rigs to mobile devices like smartwatches, smartphones, and tablets, to amazing laptops and desktops. So definitely check out asus.com/US/radio to learn more about that product lineup. And I look forward to chatting with you next weekend. I already know what guests we've got, and it's a great lineup, so I think you're going to enjoy it. So keep your dial locked and loaded right here on the Radio America Network, and we'll speak with you next weekend on Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now.